Bill North, Executive Director of the Salina Art Center, and today we are here in front of Allan Shield's maze, part of an exhibition that we have on view here in the galleries of the Art Center until April 13th. Allan Shields was a Kansas native. He was born outside of Harrington, Kansas, grew up on a farm outside of Harrington, Kansas, and is someone who ended up becoming a very important figure in the history of 20th century painting. Allan was one of a group of artists. This is the late 60s, early 70s. He left for New York in 1968. And at that time in the art world, painting, in the eyes of a lot of critics, was sort of dead. I mean, this is something that happens throughout the history of art. Painting is declared dead. The idea was that there's no place we can take painting that we haven't been, and we've wrenched all the good out of it that we can, and we need to move on to other forms. Well, Allan didn't believe that, and he, along with other artists, sort of reinvigorated and reinvented painting and extended its possibilities and expanded the ways in which we think about painting. Another thing that was very influential in Allan's thinking was, in the mid-60s, Buckminster Fuller, the great American thinker, his ideas were very much in force, and one of his basic ideas was that of the geodesic dome house. And Allan started thinking about what becomes of painting in that kind of environment. You know, if I'm living in a geodesic dome and I have no expanse of just flat vertical wall to hang a traditional painting and a frame on, where is painting's place in that world? And his solution was very simple. He thought, you know, I can just take a rope and paint it and suspend it from the ceiling, and that is a painting. That's a painting that can be experienced in 360 degrees. It's a painting that I can walk around, I can look past. And so that idea, the idea of taking painting off of the wall, off of the stretcher bars, out of the frame, and putting it in space where it can react and relate to the particular environment in which it happens to be, that's kind of Allan's basic idea. And what we see here with the maze, this is really probably his most monumental work. It's, when it arrived here, it was in a crate much smaller than this, just sort of all rolled up and bundled up. It is 7¼ feet high by 18¼ feet square. And you'll notice that it has this sort of framework. What we have are a number of vertical aluminum poles. Some of them have two-way connections, well, 4 of them, the ones on the corners. Along the sides there are 3-way connections, and then the inner elements have 4-way connections. And so the horizontal elements along the top are these 3-foot sections of aluminum pole that are sheathed in just cotton canvas. Think of, I mean, and one of the materials that Allan used early on was cotton soaker hose, like you would use in your garden. And he would paint that, and those pieces of cotton hose would slip over the rods, and that rod constituted a painting. So what you have here are all of these 3-foot sections that are joined. The male ends are on the vertical elements, and the horizontal elements just fit on to those. But the first thing we had to do was put this large painting that is on top, which is essentially a grid created of this cotton belting that you can see is stitched together. All of the stitching in this work, whether it's at the intersections of this cotton belting, or along here where you have the canvas attached to the horizontal cotton belting, all of that was done by Allan with his sewing machines. Allan had 7 sewing machines in his studio, each of which had a name, and he could talk to you for hours about their particular personalities. And so this thing is, the engineering that had to go into this is mind-boggling. So on this interior sort of wall, you have this triangular form, and then you'll notice right above me is another of Allan's pieces, Mac's hat, which was done about this a bit after Mays. Mays was 81, 82, and Mac's hat was a few years later, but using the cotton belting and sort of an aluminum hoop, and it's just suspended in space. But when you stand back here, you notice how Mac's hat is echoing the triangular shape of the painting on the interior wall, and it strikes you as something that was intentional, but it wasn't. It was something that we noticed after the installation